I posted a video on Thursday morning that I actually recorded on Wednesday night. And the topic was at the time, the rumored layoffs that were coming at ESPN, which, like I said, at the time of my recording, were just that, rumors. Well, those rumors came true later in the day on Thursday, as ESPN came out and announced that they were going to lay off 300 employees and they were eliminating another 200 positions that were open at the time. I said this on Thursday, but I want to reiterate this point. It's never a positive thing when people lose their jobs. The people we're talking about here, a lot of them aren't the big money makers like Captain Woke Stephen A. Smith or Father Woke Kirk Herbstreit, Brother Woke Max Kellerman. We're talking about behind the camera jobs. Now, I'm sure there were some that were making good money. I imagine most of these were the lower tier jobs, though, on the salary scale. ESPN did come out publicly and say that they had reduced some of their on-air talent salaries earlier this year, but for the most part, the people affected by these layoffs were behind the camera. Bob Lee, who I believe Bob Lee was the first employee at ESPN. I could be wrong. If he wasn't the first, he was one of the first. But anyway, he was pissed off with the network's decision to eliminate nearly 10% of its workforce. And who can blame him? Bob Lee said that he was trying to be objective and unemotional, but it wasn't possible. But his most interesting comment to me was what he said next. He said, quote, "Not as I see countless decades of journalistic experience and expertise jettisoned, just as we need it most," end quote. My God, did he hit the nail on the head. Journalism in this country has become an embarrassment. Trust in the American media is at all-time lows. Bob Lee is right. We need a return to real journalism in this country. ESPN is blaming the COVID pandemic for the largest layoff in company history. Did that have something to do with it? I'm sure it didn't help, but ESPN was in trouble way before the COVID graced our presence. By the way, let me just mention something here for a second. Since March, all we have heard from the mainstream media, ESPN included, guys like Max Kellerman have been screaming at the top of their lungs about how dangerous the COVID is. We're in a pandemic. Max Kellerman has been saying for months that we shouldn't have football because of the COVID. It's announced yesterday that Joe Biden is the new president, which is fine. But what I found interesting, all these people across the country are out partying in the streets. No mask, no social distancing. It's like the COVID has suddenly disappeared, or it just doesn't affect people on Saturday nights. One of the two. Anyway, I thought that was interesting, but let's get back to ESPN. The network had 2 rounds of layoffs back in 2017. Ratings have been declining for the past few years. Why is that? Bob Lee alluded to it in his comments. ESPN used to be a sports network focused on journalism. It's now become a political network focused on one-sided political propaganda. Let me give you a brief synopsis of how political ESPN has become. I talked about Jemele Hill in my video on Thursday, so I'm not going to rehash any of that today. If you want to hear my comments on Jemele Hill, go check out Thursday's video in the archives. Back in 2015, at the ESPN Awards, ESPN gave Bruce Jenner / Caitlyn Jenner its Arthur Ashe Courage Award. In her speech, she urged people to become more accepting of the transgender community. Look, I don't have a problem with LGBTQ transgender causes or whatever it is. Your personal life and your personal choices, I don't care. If you're a dude and you wake up one day and decide that you want to be a woman, go for it. Now, I don't want my taxpayer dollars paying for your transition, but if you can pay for it, go for it. Traditionally, the Arthur Ashe Courage Award has been given to people that were viewed as heroic. Guys like Pat Tillman, who gave up his career in the NFL to go serve his country in the Iraq War, lost his life because of it. That is sacrifice. That is courage. Or women like Pat Summitt, the women's college basketball coach at Tennessee who won more games than anyone in NCAA history. She was revolutionary in women's college basketball. She was forced into early retirement due to early stages of Alzheimer's. Robin Roberts, another great example. She worked at ESPN early on in her career. She came down with, I believe it was cancer, and used her own struggles to raise awareness in the importance of people donating their bone marrow. These are all great examples of courage. But Caitlyn Jenner? Really? Since when is having a sex change considered courageous? ESPN giving that award to Caitlyn Jenner was one of the first examples of the network embracing woke politics. People were pissed off about it, rightfully so. A couple of months ago, you had one of the most ridiculous and pathetic displays of wokeness that I have ever seen. Father Woke, Kirk Herbstreit, he was on College Game Day, and he was in full-blown woke mode. He was complimenting white players in college football locker rooms for standing up for their minority peers. He complimented the NFL for skipping practices, complimented the NBA for boycotting games in the name of social injustice. Now, sorry, Kirk Herbstreit, I'm not woke, but even I know the term is social justice, not social injustice. Then he said that none of that was enough. What's next? Kirk Herbstreit says. I'll tell you what's next. Your career and reputation falling off a cliff. Your network dying a slow, painful death. But it got even better with Father Herbstreit. He then started to cry on the air. Yes, a grown man crying on the air over, well, I don't know what the hell he was crying about. With tears running down his face, messing up his metrosexual makeup. He said African Americans were targeted by police in this country because they wore Nike gear. Then, as he continued to cry, he said, "We gotta do better, man. We gotta do better." He had Kerry Champion tearing up. Desmond Howard, he was crying. It was one big crying woke fest. It was absolutely laughable and pathetic. That video on on YouTube, you need to go check it out. Nearly 80% dislikes. The comment section is full of people tearing into Kirk Herbstreit and ESPN, and rightfully so. People are sick and tired of sports personalities talking about issues that they know nothing about. Back in July, former President Barack Obama participated in a town hall on race relations and racial equality. It aired on ESPN. ESPN, airing a town hall. When did ESPN start airing town halls? A town hall is the definition of political. Town halls are on Fox News, CNN, CBS News, MSNBC, not ESPN. Sean Gregory, a writer at Woke Illustrated, formerly known as Sports Illustrated, wrote an article the other day saying that ESPN's tilt towards politics was not the reason for the largest layoff in the company's history. It was the typical cord-cutting excuse that he used. ESPN's a victim of cord-cutting. It has nothing to do with their political shift. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. Cord-cutting is a factor. ESPN has lost 10 million of their 100 million subscribers since 2011. I heard something the other day. I think it might have been Clay Travis. Maybe he had someone from CNBC on Outkick. I think that's where I heard it. But what they were saying is within the next few years, the cable and satellite TV market could be as low as 50 million subscribers. That is a massive loss in revenue for a network like ESPN. ESPN charges around $8 per subscriber to cable and satellite providers. When you go from 100 million to 90 million, that's painful. If you go from 100 million to 50 million, you're possibly out of business. The Woke Illustrated article posed the following question. Would a large cohort of diehard sports fans tune out of Monday Night Football or NBA playoff games just because ESPN on occasion debates race? Yes. The answer is yes. Obviously, he hasn't been paying attention in the last few months. Diehard sports fans have tuned the NBA out by the millions. See, what these woke journalists and networks like ESPN have still yet to figure out, people don't want politics in sports. It's that simple. 2020 was the perfect storm of disaster for a network like ESPN. The COVID pandemic got people out of the habit of watching sports. Then, the NBA decided to take woke to a new level and turned off 50, 60, 70% of their audience. The NBA going woke was devastating to ESPN. ESPN only gets one NFL game every week, Monday Night Football. Fox, CBS, those are the primary NFL networks. ESPN is more reliant on the NBA than any other sports league. When people aren't watching NBA games, they aren't watching ESPN shows that are centered around the NBA. When Captain Woke, Stephen A. Smith, and Max Kellerman are spreading propaganda every morning, people are tuning out of First Take. You can't sit here and tell me that ESPN's shift to politics had zero effect on these layoffs. If you believe that, you're naive. I'm so sick of the damn media in this country. You can't get any truth out of the media. They all cover for each other. All summer, they covered for the NBA. They made excuses for the record low ratings. It's because they're playing in August. They're competing with the NFL. There are no fans. No. Fans didn't watch because the NBA went woke. Now, the media is making excuses for ESPN. I guarantee you, had ESPN focused on sports instead of going woke, they wouldn't be in the situation that they're in right now. Instead of going woke during the COVID pandemic, they should have stayed focused on sports. ESPN produces some of the best documentaries. The Last Dance, the documentary on Michael Jordan, it drew huge ratings. The hunger for great sports content is there. The audience is out there. But I don't tune into ESPN to hear the same propaganda that I can hear on any other cable news network. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of politics. I don't want to hear about it anymore. The presidential election was an embarrassment. We have a federal government that has the capability to have some dude sit in a bunker in Washington, D.C. and be able to hear a snail fart in Africa. Yet, this same government can't figure out how to count votes. Anyway, I don't feel like I'm alone in the way that I feel. I watch ESPN, or I used to watch ESPN. I don't watch it anymore, but when I did, I watched it to get away from everyday life. Sports are an escape. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be political. Look, ESPN's not going anywhere anytime soon. They're going to push their own streaming service, ESPN Plus, to try and recoup some of the financial losses, but I'm not entirely sure that that's going to work. For starters, ESPN Plus is terrible. The content on there is not terrible. The platform is terrible. It's constantly buffering. It has a myriad of error messages and other issues. Plus, if people aren't tuning into ESPN already, why the hell would they pay for a subscription to ESPN Plus? That just doesn't make sense. What I think we could see next, I think we're going to see cable and satellite providers get into disputes with ESPN. I believe we could see some cable companies, DirecTV and Dish Network included, I believe we could begin seeing blackouts of ESPN due to carriage disputes. Because customers aren't willing to watch or willing to pay for ESPN anymore, the cable and satellite companies aren't going to be willing to dish out $8 per subscriber for the rights to carry the network. I mentioned the cord-cutting excuse earlier. I wanted to make one more point as to why that excuse doesn't hold water. I don't hear Fox News whining about sagging ratings and cord-cutting. I don't hear the NFL whining about cord-cutting. It seems the only time I hear the cord-cutting excuse is when people are talking about the declining ratings for ESPN and the NBA, the partners in the woke movement. This is only the beginning for ESPN. I don't see NBA ratings rebounding next season, which directly impacts ESPN. They don't have the broadcast rights to March Madness. College football ratings are tanking. I think because more and more people are realizing that college football's uncompetitive and it's boring. I feel bad for the employees that were impacted by these layoffs, but I don't feel bad for ESPN as a network. They're getting exactly what they deserve. If you embrace politics, doesn't matter if it's conservative or woke politics. If you are a sports medium that embraces politics, you are going to lose your audience. ESPN had plenty of warning signs that this was happening. They didn't listen. Now they're paying the price. All right, that's all for today. Hit that like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Leave me a comment in the section below. I'm interested to know, how many of you guys still have traditional cable or satellite? Or are you guys strictly reliant on streaming services? Also, if ESPN shifted its focus from politics back to sports, would you start watching it again? Or have they pissed you off to the point where it's too late for you to come back? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you have any questions, a topic you'd like me to discuss, you can email me at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.